I'm going to try some translation software built into PowerPoint to provide subtitles in Spanish. So I hope that helps. Today I'm going to be talking about how DevOps is more than just dev and ops. It's a much broader topic that affects many more parts of the organization than just those two groups. My name is Chris Ayers. I'm the practice lead for Intelligent Cloud at the Cognizant Microsoft Business Group. What that means is I lead a team that kind of has three areas of focus: Azure infrastructure, DevOps, and app modernization. You can find my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and blog out there on the web. So let's dive in. What is DevOps? What does that mean? So for many, DevOps might just be, here's a job title. I'm a DevOps engineer, part of the DevOps team. It could be, we have some automation. We have scripts, we have CI/CD, we do DevOps. For others, it might mean, hey, we work in an agile manner and we have small releases and we move quickly. We're agile. And then for others, it's just they have the dev teams and the operations teams talk. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. This is a symbol and a diagram that comes up quite a bit when talking about DevOps, kind of this infinite loop of planning, building, releasing, and operating code. It's very easy to just see the dev and the ops part, but monitoring and planning actually start affecting other parts of the organization. You're monitoring how users interact with your software. So users can play a big part in the DevOps process. Planning, that touches business goals and business needs and the PM and PMO organizations. So how do you plan work? How do you prioritize work? Feedback from users can feed into that. Changing market conditions can feed into that. And then besides dev and ops, you still have to do, operations around testing and data. So it can really affect the entire organization. The definition I really like when it comes to DevOps is this one. This definition comes from Donovan Brown at Microsoft. DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. And what I love about this, I've included a link to his blog. He spent about a month really working on this definition. But what I love about this definition is it really starts with people. People are the core part of DevOps, surrounded by processes, enabled by products. We're trying to deliver value to our end users. End users don't care about how many story points we've done. They don't care if we have code running in QA or if that's sitting on a feature branch. Users want value that they can interact with. They want it running in production. Maybe it's speed. Maybe it's reliability and quality. Or maybe it's that new killer feature they've been looking for. Value really is in the eye of the users. And so that's an important aspect in DevOps in my mind. So, kind of looking at why we even talk about DevOps. Why is it important to an organization? DevOps drives revenue growth for many organizations. It lets them optimize their costs. It lets them drive into the cloud. It lets them release code more quickly, which means they can have features and agility that lower performing DevOps organizations won't find. Their code has better quality, so they'll have less failures, and they'll be able to recover from those much faster through different techniques and technologies. And kind of diving into that, this comes from DORA, the DevOps research agency. This is from their State of DevOps report in 2018. The time spent doing new work for high-performing DevOps organizations is much, much higher than those in lower performing organizations, which means some of the lower performing orgs are spending time doing unplanned work, dealing with customer support issues, trying to track down defects. And so instead of focusing on new features and innovation, they're really focused on keeping the lights on and doing basic maintenance and troubleshooting work. So by having better quality and being able to focus on the features that are more important, higher performing DevOps teams get to, build those new features, go where the market needs to take them. So how do we do DevOps? Um, I really like to start with the definition, and that says, starting with people. And one of the main topics I've seen come up many times when we're talking about DevOps is org charts. Org charts. This is a joke here. One of the ones I see a lot at Microsoft slides, but many org charts are breaking into silos. Yeah, sure, there are some that are very flat. There are some that are very disconnected, but it's easy for orgs as they start adopting DevOps principles to realize they have walls and they have communication gaps between some parts of their business. And this is why one of the first things I do is really try to help break down the silos between these different parts of the organization. Like I said, people is really central to this. And I always say people are more important than the tools. When you talk about DevOps, people really tend to dive into tooling. How are you building? How are you releasing? Are you using Jira or DevOps or something else for boards? I focus on the people first, because you need to have buy-in from the top of the organization down to the bottom. There needs to be a shared vision, kind of moving towards the goal of delivering value to your users. And as we start looking at some of the practices and habits that center around DevOps, it starts touching more and more of the organization. Maybe we are doing automated testing, and it starts pulling in the testing department. Maybe we're doing release management, and that might deal with some of the security and compliance teams. Doing Agile, we're going to be working with our project management teams and business owners to try to prioritize our work and choose the features and capabilities that we're going to dive into. Telemetry. As we release software, are our users using those features? Do we have telemetry on how they're being operated? Do we have good performance data? Those can feed back into our priorities. As we try to deliver value to our users, are we giving them what they need? So as we look at some of the features and activities around DevOps, we see how it touches many, many parts of the business. But one of the things I see a lot is sometimes people pull back from doing activities. And in my mind, in DevOps, if it hurts, you do it more often. This is how we, really embrace that fail fast mentality and try to ship more often. So if we've had problems, releasing features or enabling features in the past, well, we should release more often. I've seen some organizations typically try to, well, we need more cabs. We need to delay. Maybe we need a every 3 months release cycle or every 6-month release cycle. In DevOps, it might be, let's release every 2 weeks. Let's release weekly. Let's release daily. Let's automate. Let's remove some of the roadblocks that are doing it and find out why it's slowing us down, getting that value out to the user. And let's remove that roadblock and move more quickly. Iteration and improvement is really the name of the game. But kind of touching on that, you see this pain and this aversion to pain. I've many times heard organizations say, we do DevOps. We just don't do a lot of the difficult parts, maybe Agile or CI/CD or infrastructure as code. They kind of pick and choose. And that is fine for many organizations. Like, you really need to craft it and turn it into what is important to your org and how it fits. But this is, touching on, you really can't buy DevOps, just like you can't buy Agile. You can't go through some of the motions without having the mindset behind it. You need to embrace that from the top to the bottom. And this does cause challenges. Like I said, times get difficult as you're learning DevOps. And this is where this J curve of transformation comes from. This was originally touched on in the State of DevOps report. I've got some of the credits earlier, but as we start learning, this really applies to anything we learn as humans. As we start learning, we start gaining quick wins, and we really embrace some of that change and kind of dive in. But as we go, we kind of hit that first hump, that first hill, and we see before us all of the changes and implications of what we've learned. There's a lot of technical debt. There's a lot of automation we have to do. It just seems like this mountain of stuff in front of us, and it's very easy to get discouraged. And this is why having that shared vision and having DevOps embraced culture and mindset at the top of the org, as well as everyone actually doing the work, just kind of helps you power through that valley and kind of start digging your way out. And once you really start having those improvements feed on each other, it starts to accelerate, and you do start to come out the other side of the transformation with adoption kind of everywhere. Now, there are some books about this, about DevOps and why it's so important and kind of how it touches everything. This is one of my favorites. This is Accelerate by Nicole Forsgren. She ran Dora and or did many of the State of DevOps reports for a number of years. She now works at GitHub and Microsoft in their developer velocity group. Really great book here. This talks about some of the State of DevOps reports findings as well as their methodology, and it's really a good read for something that's a little less technical or dense. I also recommend the Phoenix Project. This is a great book that kind of tells it in a story fashion, and this is a book that can be kind of shared with anybody from a leadership position down, and kind of really shows the art of the possible, and kind of it'll really resonate with many people as they read it, I think. There's been a recent sequel as well, The Unicorn Project. Both of those, I think, are phenomenal books that can really tell a great story about why DevOps and automation is important, and how it starts branching out beyond dev and operations into, business and data and testing and the customer. So I will be in the networking room if there are any questions. I know we were a little bit behind, so hopefully we got a couple minutes, but I would like to thank everyone for their time.